Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Recently, the writer of Avengers Kang Dynasty and Avengers Secret Wars revealed a bunch of Kang scenes in the original version of the next two Avengers movies and what wound up happening. Separately, Jeremy Renner has been talking a lot about Avengers Doomsday Secret Wars, Hawkeye Season 2, and while he was explaining everything, he also talked a lot about the Kang character, so we'll break it all down. We know that Marvel and the Russos started changing a lot of the original stories for the next two Avengers movies when they hired Robert Downey Jr. to come back as Doctor Doom. Then the Russos also brought back the writer of Avengers Infinity War and Endgame to rewrite Avengers Kang Dynasty in the original version of Secret Wars. It was originally going to be a very, very different plot for the next two Avengers movies. Here's the thing though, Marvel had done so much work in pre-production on those two Avengers movies before they changed everything that there's enough material and deleted scenes, subplots to fill like 2 or 3 more extra movies. So we'll explain everything. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. It is just the beginning. We're going to be getting more teasers for the actual version of Avengers Doomsday that we're going to see in theaters next year pretty soon as well too, because it's the end of the year. Recently, Michael Waldron, who was Marvel's original writer for Avengers Secret Wars, he also wrote Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, did a Reddit Q&A for a totally different TV show that he just released on Disney+, and during that is where he revealed all these details about his Secret Wars in Avengers Kang Dynasty. He also revealed that he had been a co-writer on Avengers Kang Dynasty. Originally, he was just writing Secret Wars for them after he did Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, but Marvel had him working with Jeff Loveness, who was originally the sole writer of Avengers Kang Dynasty. He's also another former Rick and Morty writer like Michael Waldron, so a lot of Rick and Morty energy in the MCU for a little while. Jeff Loveness is also the writer who did Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania before he was hired to do Kang Dynasty. At a certain point in the early days of them working on Avengers Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars development, this is back in 2020 at least, Marvel started having them collaborate working together because both of the next Avengers movies, 5 and 6, were connected heavily in the same way that Infinity War and Endgame were 2 parts of the same basic story, but had vastly different plots. So naturally there was a lot of coordination between both Avengers movies. It's still kind of the same way even though they fundamentally changed the plots of both movies. Michael Waldron says that on one of the days they spent working on a subplot during Avengers Kang Dynasty where the Young Avengers, and they were still called the Young Avengers at this point, fought and defeated a Kang variant in a turned comedic, like very comedic scene when they discovered that he had a card on him which said, "Be patient with him, it was his first day as a Kang," and they got totally deflated. It became this hollow victory, like, oh, nobody cares about this Kang, it's no big deal. Then revealed that it was going to be the Lizard Kang from the Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania post-credit scene with the Council of Kangs. So there's a lot to unpack here. First, you have to remember this is when Avengers 5 was still Kang Dynasty. You can obviously see how comedic it was going to be and how much Marvel pulled way back on that, in addition to a lot of other big plot elements like firing Jonathan Majors as Kang and bringing back Robert Downey Jr. and turning it into Avengers Doomsday instead. Maybe there are a lot of you out there that would have loved to see the Young Avengers during Avengers 5, but all this comedy just feels like it would not have gone over very well with the larger general audience, so it does feel like we dodged a bullet, at least with some of these Young Avengers scenes. You have to remember, in this version of the movie, the villain would have been the Council of Kangs, but it was really the 3 main Kang variants. Immortus, this was the version of the Scarlet Centurion, and then Rama-Tut. Sam Wilson would have still put together a new Avengers team. There would have been the Fantastic Four in the movie still, but just like Avengers Infinity War, they would have split the characters into 3 different teams this time instead of just 2 different teams, and each team would have just fought a different Kang variant in different time periods. They would have also leaned more heavily into the connection between the Fantastic Four and Kang, most notably Reed Richards in Kang. So it was going to explain why the Fantastic Four's technology in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness with John Krasinski's Reed Richards looks so similar to the TVA Kang-designed technology. Kang's original name before he started calling himself Kang was Nathaniel Richards. All variants of Kang started life as a version of Nathaniel Richards before they took their identities. In the comics, he's meant to be the distant descendant of Nathaniel Richards, who is Reed Richards' father because of another family, other children he had in the distant future. So Reed Richards' father is a time traveler from the distant future. Kang comes from another family that he had in the future. Then he jumps back to the past, sires Reed Richards, so the idea is that Reed Richards and Kang are biologically related through his father in the comics. Next big thing these deleted scenes from the writer also reveal is that the Young Avengers would have already formed as a team and been a big part of Avengers 5 as well. It would have always been Miss Marvel, Cassie Lang, Kate Bishop, Riri Williams, Billy and Tommy, and maybe America Chavez too, because they've done a lot of Young Avengers stuff since then, and they always feature America Chavez in the scenes.
America Chavez and Riri Williams celebrating their latest victory. Teamwork is the key to...
I think the idea is that in this version of the movie, Avengers 5, Marvel had planned on introducing all the different characters a little bit sooner before all the COVID delays and before all the strikes in Hollywood, like all the guild strikes, and putting the Young Avengers team together sooner. Sounds like they would have been a way bigger deal during the actual movie too. So Marvel is still doing a version of Young Avengers, but everything about that has changed. The overall MCU plot in the Avengers movies have changed, the characters they're using in both the Avengers movies have changed, and the timing for when a lot of the TV shows and other related movies have changed or been canceled. Now it seems like the Russos got rid of all the Young Avengers subplot. If you remember the leaked concept art from earlier this year, it featured the Young Avengers with Star-Lord, Wong, and Dupe from the X-Men. Like there were a whole bunch of characters here all standing together in a nightclub-looking place. This is probably tied to some of the deleted scenes that Michael Waldron was talking about featuring the Young Avengers as an actual team during the next two Avengers movies. Now it seems like because the Russos got rid of a lot of that stuff, maybe like one or two of those characters might cameo in the background at best if they do make it into any of these movies at all. And they're waiting till after Secret Wars in the soft reboot on the MCU to do Young Avengers, and it'll be done as a TV show. They've already hired a showrunner, but they changed the name to The Champions instead. Mostly I think because they don't want to devalue the Avengers brand name by slapping it on a bunch of other TV shows. Also, the idea that all the actors that are going to be on the team will be like in their early 30s by the time they actually get around to actually doing the TV show, so they won't be young Avengers anymore. They'll be middle-aged Avengers, like normal age Avengers. Haley Steinfeld's Kate Bishop even had a joke about that when Miss Marvel tried to recruit her, like, you know that I'm not a kid anymore, like I'm actually a middle-aged adult. Marvel was kind of already calling themselves out on that. This original version of Kang Dynasty that Michael Waldron was revealing would have ended with all three Avengers teams not being able to completely defeat the Council of Kangs. They would have had another downer ending like Infinity War's downer ending with Thanos' snap, only this time it would have been a very Naruto type of Kaguya twist where if you didn't watch that series or you didn't read the manga, think of the Fourth Shinobi War. There was all kinds of backstabbing and lesser villains, think Council of Kangs in this scenario, who were hyped up to be the big bads, but then in comes a much bigger, more powerful villain, killing the lesser villains to show you how they were so much worse, and the heroes have no hope of defeating them.
Why did you even rope me into this? Because he roped me into this. Well, him over there, he roped me into this. Well, he roped me into this. Well, what about me?
Marvel basically would have done a version of this, but with the Kang from Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, who seemingly died having survived and returning as a sort of a version of their Beyonder from a more 1980s Secret Wars parallel. I believe they were always going to use the Void for a version of Secret Wars as their battle world. There would have been a little bit of Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars in there. All the concept art that leaked out probably had some versions of this original Secret Wars baked into it. My assumption is that when you start to see Doctor Doom showing up in that leaked concept art, that's when they started to shift to Doctor Doom as the main villain away from the Kangs and the Council of Kangs. So you have to remember in this original version of events, these next two Avengers movies, Jonathan Majors would have been playing several different central characters to both of the Avengers movies. Like he would have been all over both of these two movies. Jeremy Renner also subtly confirmed a lot of this on a recent podcast that he did, talking about Marvel's big plans for Kang. There's a lot to unpack there too, but I think he's just confirming a lot of the things that we've heard, things that we believed too. Like, oh yeah, he's just saying all the things that we believed this whole time. And as we saw, Marvel Kevin Feige dramatically changed all their plans a couple years ago. Kevin Feige claims that Marvel wanted to change out Kang as the main villain long before Jonathan Majors' legal troubles. So this is Kevin Feige trying to shift some of the blame off of Marvel themselves, saying, no, we wanted to get rid of Kang as this big character long before his legal troubles. Him being fired by us after the fact is only a coincidence. You can decide whether or not you believe Kevin Feige or the people at Marvel when they talk about stuff like this, but it sounds like even if they had not fired Jonathan Majors and they still kept the Kang character around, they were still shifting to Avengers Doomsday and Doctor Doom as the main villain, and they would have just done Kang as a more background role. And odds are pretty good that he would have only been in the movie, the first Avengers Doomsday movie, so that Doctor Doom could kill him in some huge twist scene, like Thanos killing Loki at the beginning of Avengers Infinity War, but make it Doom and Kang. Here's the thing too, Marvel actually had much larger plans just in general on all their TV shows and movies for the Kang character. Kang was supposed to be a much bigger person during X-Men 97 Season 2, which is also releasing next year, because the X-Men get scattered across the timeline at the end of Season 1, and I believe that Kang would have been one of the reasons for that. What wound up happening with X-Men 97 is that Marvel changed the plot of Season 2 after they fired Beau DeMayo, so my assumption is that anything that they were going to do with the Kang character in that original plot, they've shifted just to Apocalypse, because he is meant to be the overarching villain in Season 2 in the past, present, and future, so there's already a lot of time travel, timeline-based stuff that Apocalypse was doing in addition to Kang. If Marvel wants to bring Kang back at some point in the future, what they'd likely do is just recast with a completely new actor. Speaking of Avengers Secret Wars, Marvel also just held a Comic-Con event in Brazil, and they used a fan's Secret Wars poster with Miles Morales and the Beyonder on it. It's very clearly a fan poster, but people kind of went crazy when they saw it, like, what is going on here? So it's not meant to give them any big spoilers or anything like that. My assumption is that it was just some intern or low-level Marvel employee that grabbed one for their presentation on stage without really thinking too much about it, and now probably going to get an earful from Kevin Feige and his snipers. There's a lot of stuff coming up. If you have any other questions about deleted scenes or Kang Dynasty or Marvel's original plans or like what's changed now, just write it below in the comments and I'll try to add it into my future bonus videos. We will probably hear about more deleted scenes and subplots as we continue along with Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. Usually this stuff leaks out on a pretty regular basis when the big movies come out. Because it is Halloween week as I'm posting this, Welcome to Derry Episode 2 is releasing early this Friday on Halloween. My video for that will post right after the episode airs. And we should get some more teasers for Avengers Doomsday and Spider-Man Brand New Day by the end of the year. So whatever they wind up releasing, of course I will do videos for that stuff. I just did a new Black Panther 3 video. Click here for that, and click here for my X-Men 97 Season 2 trailer video. Thank you so much for watching, happy Halloween everyone, and I will see you guys in the next video.